Okay, 10th of May, 2025, 6:15 p.m. The party erupted about 20 minutes ago, precisely about that time, when there was two females that came out and a very gay male, audibly, obviously gay male, white, everyone white, Caucasian. When the two females came out, the first two white terrorists, white extremist terrorists that came out from a freaking war zone that I'm forbidden from ever filming or talking about. Please take note of date and time and what I just did and what I am even talking about. That property, 1507 S Street Northwest. So two females and a gay man came out, and right as they hit the front footstep, 1 foot out, they went like this. Just like, you got to pay attention and make sure you're doing that, okay? So they went like that on a drum. It was like a hollow drum. Boom, 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 boom. And then as soon as they did that, they all started with their rehearsed skit. It's rehearsed, it's fake, laughing and screeching and yelling and talking about statements such as a birthday party. Okay, and then so when they did that for about 5 minutes, then they went into the center of the yard and they did it again. They went boom, boom, boom. 3 straight methodical times. You have to be really paying attention to be doing that correctly. At that point, they did that. Once they did that, I can't film this property. I'm in 1509 S Street Northwest. I can't film that. Once they did that, a terrorist came in from 1511. They came in underneath my floor from 1511. They came in first in the extra room and they started cramming and shoving and pushing hard objects straight into my room from the house 1511 from underneath my floor. Hard, loud metal objects were being crammed into my living space from the house next door. And then they went straight through that corridor, constructed, carved out area, which is to my right. As I face 1507, I'm sitting, it's right to my right underneath my chair. And they started a construction project, like I report. They started dragging, thumping. They started digging and clicking. And these various work sounds, like I've reported, those sounds always come with IEDs. And those sounds always come with chemical weapons. Okay, so the two work projects in both of my rooms came after the white extremist terrorists came into that backyard and banged and boomed on various objects methodically at different points in time after they entered into the backyard. So the construction project that of digging, dragging, moving heavy objects right underneath my chair and underneath my floor from 1511 into my property from 1511 took about good 5 minutes. All right. The task force, United States federal officers are all dead. The task force was instructing them, this party, what to do. 8 minutes before, they came out and bang, 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 bang on drum, and then went into the middle of the yard and 3 more times, boom, boom, boomed on the ground with an object. You could hear it, boom, boom. You could hear it in the alley. You could hear it, okay? All the task force that were in these houses are dead. There was one remaining task force. That was the task force U.S. federal officer that was shoving objects into my house. And you can see a white extremist terrorist vacating, leaving the scene after that when all his fighters were dead. So that's how it goes a great deal of the time, except the two in this house ended up dead. The occupants who chop up bodies and who come in here and do a litany of other violent felony terrorist crimes, are stationed here to never be arrested, questioned, searched, raided. They're aided, harbored, and abetted is what they are. They're white and they're Middle Eastern. Some of them are African American. The worst one in that group was the African American. In the rank, the other one was that military officer with the strawberry blonde hair. That is a military officer. So I made sure I got both of them. Once the military officer came out, you can see with the strawberry blonde crew cut military officer, Harry is a military officer. Once he came out, that was an indication that this whole operation, everyone was dead. So we have right now with a party, okay? I want you to hear me. The good guys don't need me to tell them this. They were the ones engaged in the combat, okay? Which you can see a special force helicopter at the end of the second video, okay? That's one reason why the helicopters are here. They are engaged in combat on S Street. While that party is going and while that party was going, there are multiple dead U.S. federal agents, dead bodies up and down. They're in the house 1517, they're in the house 1513, and they're in the house 1511. There's also a dead U.S. federal agent in the house 1505. Right before the party and the boom, 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 boom. The initial one before the other one that was in the middle of the yard that followed a few minutes after that, both garage doors opened up. At that point in time, that's when the garage door opened up at 1513. That's when the U.S. task force officer was executed. The 1513 went out first. Okay, nobody was in the 1507. Then the 1515, within a matter of 5 minutes, their garage door opened up. That's about the time, I'm not totally clear on when that federal officer was executed for terrorism. All right, and then once those garage doors were done with their terrorist actions, that party erupted, okay? And then you hear the booming, and then you see the special ops, and that's when I'm clear to film and report it. I can't always engage in the combat, but there are multiple dead U.S. law enforcement officers on the street. They were engaged in terrorism. They were trying to assault me and assault the good military. Some of the good military are U.S. military members, so they're attacking their own service members. Again, treason, aided, harbored, and abetted. That party is a prop. Not one of those people can I testify I've ever seen before. They've been bringing in people off the street, okay? This is why the United States is hit with nuclear weapons. You have a domestic terrorist population in a battlefield, 1507 S Street Northwest, that is so hot tamales. I can never talk about it. I can never film it. I can't even stand by the windows when people are in that yard. It's so hot tamales. It brings helicopters over to that house and these trio of houses up and down the street 24 hours a day, 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, midnight, 11 p.m. It doesn't matter. The helicopters come, okay? And then the pedestrian traffic is now flooding in from the driveways. I tried to film the driveway. It was empty, and then two new vehicles pull in. And then all these white extremist terrorists conglomerate after they were working with U.S. federal agents who are now dead and deservingly so. Okay, so what we have here in the United States and what we have here in the Capitol is your population involved in terrorism. That's what you have here, and there's consequences. There's mass arrest, and there's executions for that, okay? They can sit at the Congress and Senate, and they can send in their staffers, but that was a wrong move. That was a really wrong move, Donald Trump.